They bombed the Supreme Leader's headquarters and the presidential compound in Tehran. And only hours after the American-Israeli bombardment, the fourth wave of True Promise arrived. A ballistic storm drowning the depths of Tel Aviv, extending to US bases across the Gulf. A shock delivered by more than 500 missiles, accompanied by unprecedented swarms of suicide drones, gnawing at American defenses and scattering their focus. While the drones occupied the radars of THAAD and the Iron Dome, hypersonic ballistic missiles, Fatah and K-Bar, dived in, crushing their targets with extreme precision, leaving no margin for error. An unrelenting exchange of fire, Israeli confusion, American concern over Tehran draining Tel Aviv's defenses, just as happened during the 12-day war. Many hidden secrets and critical details we reveal about the night of True Promise 4. Stay with us until the very end of the episode. Only hours after the American-Israeli strike on Iran, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps announced the launch of a compound retaliatory operation. It began with the release of large numbers of conventional ballistic missiles, supported by relatively low-cost drones whose primary mission was to exhaust American and Israeli air defense platforms. Tehran divided the operation into successive waves separated by precisely calculated intervals. Each wave included the launch of dozens of missiles, and the firing sequence was anything but random. The drones, traveling at speeds not exceeding 300 kilometers per hour, were launched first to occupy radars and deplete interceptor stocks. Then, at the calculated moment, the far faster ballistic missiles were fired, allowing them to catch up with the slower waves, so that nearly all would enter the targeted airspace simultaneously, creating a single moment of defensive saturation. The objective was not indiscriminate bombardment, but concentrated pressure on radar, early warning and air defense systems at US bases in Iraq, Syria and Jordan, ultimately straining Israel's Iron Dome to the edge of incapacity and allowing the largest possible number of projectiles to penetrate the defensive grid. In True Promise 4, Tehran relied primarily on conventional ballistic missiles to form the saturation waves. But at the core of this barrage, the bet was not on volume alone. It was on the tactical killer engineered to pierce the most complex defensive networks. The K-Bar Shekan missile, not a conventional, easily tracked projectile. It is a third-generation solid-fuel ballistic missile, granting rapid preparation and near-immediate launch capability from mobile platforms, drastically reducing warning time. According to declared figures, it carries a range of approximately 1,450 kilometers, placing the entirety of Israel within reach. It travels at speeds exceeding Mach 5 outside the atmosphere, but the most dangerous phase begins upon re-entry, when its warhead accelerates to hypersonic velocities estimated between Mach 7 and Mach 9, transforming into a lethal flash across radar screens. Its real complexity lies in guidance. It does not follow a predictable, fixed ballistic arc. Instead, it relies on inertial navigation, supported by satellite signals. Before reaching the target, its warhead, carrying roughly 500 kilograms of high-explosive payload, separates and begins executing sharp maneuvers during re-entry as a maneuverable re-entry vehicle. These last-second maneuvers disrupt prediction algorithms in systems such as David's Sling and THAAD, forcing interceptors to chase shifting trajectories, while the warhead continues its near-vertical descent with limited circular error. striking hardened installations with high precision. As the saturation intensified, Iranian command rooms did not rely solely on modern tactical missiles. They reactivated one of the oldest pillars of their ballistic arsenal, Shahab-2 and Shahab-3. This wave did not depend on sophisticated maneuverability as much as it relied on sheer destructive mass. In its upgraded variant, exceeding a 2,000-kilometer range, the Shahab-3 launched from fortified platforms and underground silos, crossing Middle Eastern skies with a warhead weighing close to a full ton of high explosives. Despite relying on liquid fuel, which requires longer preparation time, its launch timing was meticulously calculated. It was designed to arrive at the precise moment Israeli and American radars were most occupied with drone swarms and next-generation missile threats. This synchronization created a genuine dilemma for Arrow 3 and the Iron Dome. While interceptors were being expended against multi-directional maneuvering threats, Shahab missiles descended from outside the atmosphere at roughly Mach 7, following a heavy, classical ballistic trajectory, like a hammer falling from the sky. Introducing Shahab into the heart of True Promise was not merely about increasing hit counts. It was about generating deep structural damage against hardened infrastructure in the Negev and Galilee, transforming what had once been labeled a theoretical threat into tangible firepower on the ground. Yet, before ballistic missiles could begin their descent, the defensive network first had to be strained. Here began the opening chapter of tactical saturation, with swarms of Shahed 136 drones. In military doctrine, the Shahed 136 is not merely a drone, but a low-cost loitering munition engineered as both an economic and operational drain on air defense systems. With an operational range of approximately 2,500 kilometers, they launched in dozens, perhaps hundreds, from multiple platforms heading toward Israeli depth. These drones do not rely on speed. They cruise at no more than 185 kilometers per hour and at low altitudes to reduce early detection. Yet that deliberate slowness becomes a burden for defenders, forcing radars to track large numbers of targets over extended periods, straining processing capacity and saturating the airspace. The Shahed 136 uses inertial navigation supported by satellite guidance and is pre-programmed with fixed coordinates. Upon reaching its objective, it dives, detonating a warhead weighing around 50 kilograms of high explosive. The sound of its piston engine has become a psychological weapon in itself. But in True Promise 4, its role extended far beyond morale effects. Its mission was to drain interceptor inventories, compelling the adversary to expend multi-million-dollar missiles against targets costing a fraction of that sum. And as interceptor stocks gradually declined, aerial corridors opened for the heavier waves. Fatah and K-Bar missiles followed by Shahab. The question remains: will US and Israeli defenses withstand Iran's multi-layered saturation attacks, or does Trump still hold cards that have yet to be revealed? Share your analysis in the comments and subscribe for our upcoming coverage.